Futurizers, we are
Hey.
back. Oh, it's not a threat. Okay, it's an announcement. It is a proclamation. We are back because we have return people, return folks that come back to the
Yes.
virtual building when they're ready for a second layer, different layer of conversation. Okay, so you recognize Miss Donna, but we got
Mm-hmm.
on that initial topic. If you want to know what the initial topic is, go find it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we on YouTube, so you can find it easily. But she's back, and we're going to be talking about the cautionary tale that involves you never designing from a place of desperation. Oh, it's personal development. You don't believe me? Stick around. I said it. Chill out, relax, and stay here for a moment. Miss Sounds is here with our word of the day. Oh, you thought we weren't going to do the word? I done told y'all about expectation. Don't lie to you. You can lie to me if you don't lie to you. Word of the day is here to stay. Miss,
Hey, hey.
greet your people.
Okay. Hey guys. I'm here in the building with my
Mm-hmm.
girl Azali and with Miss Donna here. We're here for some real, real good conversation. But before we get to the conversation, we like to do the word of the day
Mm-hmm.
just to, calm us down, keep us to a place where we just reflecting and just eating up the good word for our soul for a second.
Yes.
Okay. And so let me start by reading the word of the day, and then no, Donna, you're not a guest no more. You could get a Coke out the fridge now. So you know how this goes, okay? We're gonna go round robin. We're just gonna go around and say what it means to us. So the word of the day is live as if you were to die tomorrow. I'll say that one more time. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Mm, mm, mm. Azali, I see you over there.
I don't
I
got no
see you.
teeth. I was trying to
I
raise.
see you.
I was trying to raise something, but there is no gauntlet. Yes, I'm British. Gauntlet. I said it. Was not a mistake. I'm intentional today. Y'all gonna get a lot of energy, right? Because I had some stuff trying to stop me from coming on here. So you're gonna get
Yes.
all the energy. Judge if you want to judge. I ain't even taking it personal today. Okay,
Yes.
I'm double grown today. That's what you're gonna get. I'm jumping. I'm gonna
Yes.
start because I'm hyped. It is what it is.
That.
Okay,
Do it.
had no green tea today, had no coffee. It's just me. All right, me and life, we got something we going on right now. Battle.
Yeah.
I want to take this from a personal perspective that's positive. We're not going to ever tell you to live without boundaries. We're going to tell you to live within your boundaries that allows you to be in balance with who you're supposed to be on your journey. So when I hear that quote, it tells me that I have to really decide each day can be my best day if I'm intentional about the choices, the decisions, and the actions in advance of making them.
Mm.
Because tomorrow is not promised. It is a gift when I get it, if I get it. But just in case I don't get it today, oh, I'm gonna live like if I'm gonna die tomorrow. It does not mean without boundaries. So we want to squash that right now for anybody that thinks we're promoting that. Like I tell y'all, I'm hyped today. We're not promoting that, but we're saying the king in you, the queen in you, the prince and the princess level of who you are becoming can make some choices and decisions in your mind before you physically make them to prevent you from being that catalyst that's negative to you and the them around you. Oh, I told you I'm coming today. I am
Yes,
unapologetic today. I'm
you're
done.
doing it.
This sounds gonna save y'all from a lot
I
because
got you.
I'm
I got
fighting
you.
through some stuff.
And she winning. She winning, y'all. She winning. But she fighting for sure. Oh man, when I think of this quote, all of what you said, um, all of what you said, and I think about the fact that tomorrow is not promised. Like we don't know what tomorrow will bring,
Yes.
nor do we know if there will be a tomorrow for us, right? And so that means we only have the moment, we only have right now. And one thing that I've been putting as a priority for myself is um, in every moment that I do have and that I am living and breathing, I want to be the most authentic I can be for that moment. I don't want to live another day living somebody else's life or for someone else. And so every moment is intentional for me to get back to who I was created to be, um, the most purest form of myself, and the unapologetic version of myself in every single moment. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. How I'm feeling. Donna, what you think? What you think?
Oh my goodness, how y'all gonna put me? I'm the guest. How y'all
Yeah.
gonna bring me in
Return
after all of that?
family. No, you're
Yeah.
RF, return family.
She's supposed to let me go first so that I don't have to follow up all of this brilliance right here.
Throw
I
you under the
love
bus if you, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So for me, this quote put me in the frame of mind of the value of time. A lot of times we hear people say, hurry up, time is money, time is money. But what if I were to say to you guys, I would say, hey, Azali and Miss Sounds, I will give you both $1 million. I'll give you both $1 million right now. The catch though is you have to die tomorrow. Would you want the $1 million? No. Right.
Oh no, baby.
Right.
You can have that.
So when we say like time is money, time is far more valuable than money.
Yes.
Come on.
And so when you were talking about this, if we live as if you were to die tomorrow, value time, just value it as a resource, the precious resource that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And how each moment, how you show up, how you live, what you do, that dictates how much you value it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I thought of when that was the quote of the word of the day.
Yeah. No, that's good. That is good.
I like that. Before we go forward, I want to do my plugs today because I want active listening today. I don't want you to hear HEAR. Oh, it's been a minute since I spelled, so don't be annoyed. You had a break. It's back. Active listening. For me, defining active listening is the physicality of hearing with my ears, because that's the only member of my body that can perform that action. So to physically use my ears to hear and connect the sound of what I hear to the mental capacity and psyche of my brain to process, which is to receive information before I figure out my action. That's just active listening. So that's what I want today. I want to employ you. I want to request of you. I want to ask you to actively listen to where we're going to go with this conversation, still supporting personal development by living with simplicity, using intentional proactivity. But you realize I said living simply means using my ears to hear. That's a part of the simple. Use the member of your body that does what it does best to hear. Then connect that to my mind. We're still on simple. Okay? You can, all of us can think. So we're using simplicity first before. Intentional proactivity then comes with, I have now made a decision to do something with the thought that came from my ability to hear. Oh, yeah, don't play with me today. I will connect the dots all day so that when you tell me you didn't understand, oh, come on. Told y'all we smart out here. I don't care what level of school you completed. If you never went to school, you're still smart because you still got the gift of a brain. All right, Miss Sound's just going to take it from me now because, you know, I'm on a thing. Y'all know what the thing is. I'm on a thing today. The Sound Save Your People.
Okay, I got y'all again. I'm here, guys. No, we love you, Azali. Stop. I want to get into the conversation because we have Donna back again, and we are having her back again from a different perspective now. We have been in our past few episodes just really talking to people and having very really real genuine conversations about powerful stories as it pertains to their own personal growth and development journeys. We've talked to community leaders, people that are engaging in the community, creatives that are really putting their work out there into the world and are really being first impacted by it and then putting it out there. And we know, Donna, you have some creative expressions as well in your own life. And we're so interested to hear today about some of the things you've created that have tied into your personal growth and development journey. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about something you created that is really impacting your journey right now?
Yeah. So I actually wrote a book. I didn't start out with the intention of writing a book at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to write this book.
Mm.
The book, um, what's the word I want to use? It kind of follows a period of time in my life where lots of changing, lots of upheaval, a tumultuous time in my life. And when I look back on this period of my life, I know that it was a part of my becoming. I know that now. But as I was in it, moving through it, it was very challenging. And I was just trying to get through it, guys. I was just trying to get through it. And so I really didn't want to revisit it, let alone write it out. During this period, I was making decisions based on the worldly standards, based on what culture was telling me I should be doing at this time, at a certain time in my life. And what I realized is that because I wasn't grounded by a belief system that was bigger than me, that was not only bigger than me, but that was based on where I even became, who I really am, all of that, because I wasn't grounded in that and didn't have the right understanding, I was, like the Bible says, tossed to and fro by every word of doctrine. If it sounded good, oh yeah, that sounds good, I should do that. If that sounds good, oh, that sounds good, I should do that. I did not have any foundation, anything that was stabilizing for me. And this might sound crazy because I was raised in a Christian family. And so how did I get to this point in my life, midlife? I was 40 years old. How did I get there and not even know that I didn't even know that I wasn't grounded in biblical principles
Yeah.
as they really are, the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that,
Well, let's talk there. Let's park there.
Yeah.
And I will offend some people. I will. I'm okay with that. Because I told y'all I'm here to disrupt the narrative so you can think for yourself and figure out if what you thought is truly what you wanted to think. So I'm going to be okay disrupting. I will not dismiss, but I will disrupt. Would it be fair to say, Ms. Donna, that part of the being in a turmoil and not knowing you're in a turmoil has to do with the American culture that has been given to you as the place for you to create your garden of life from?
woof.
Mm.
In what way would you say that yes is a true yes? You got to give us something, you got to take us down the path.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we said culture, and people will hear culture outside of the American society. That
Yeah.
we are still saying on this podcast, we're all Americans. We love being American, but it doesn't mean all of it is right. So y'all just hear me clearly. I said active listening.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Donna, when we say culture, I want to break it down. Is the one facet of that, is that before we do spiritualism, is that an American way of thinking of being that's being taught from generation to generation? And how, and talk to me about that.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I think is quite interesting, and I'm going to take it someplace to bring it back, is the burgeoning of artificial intelligence in our world today.
Mhm.
And just a quick snippet that I'm going to relate this to is that there are certain aspects of artificial intelligence, and one of them is generative artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And that simply means that you have this bucket of information that it's pulling from, which is just artificial intelligence, just information, large learning models, just buckets of information that's out there. The generative part of it happens when, based on some inputs and responses to this big bucket of information, we now create something new, something that did not exist before.
Yes.
That's the generative part. A lot of these programs and things that are being created right now are being created based on this American standard of things. And so we talk about in these spaces, everybody wants to stop the diversity.
Yes.
You know, we DE&I, that's meaningless. It's garbage, doesn't mean anything. Well, as a result of that exact thinking, we have already seen in this space, this new space of artificial intelligence, that information that's coming out of these tools is once again being programmed by white men in America.
Yes.
So the lens is this constant lens that doesn't change. So, for example, a question was asked to, one of the chats. Show me a beautiful girl. Without fail, every picture was white, blue eyes, blonde hair.
Wow.
Mm.
Because that's what it's being programmed.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
the standard of beauty is. And it's being programmed by people who have been programmed with that lens. That is the same way Americans have been programmed since the beginning of America. By white men who they're going to tell you what's beautiful. And the way they tell you that is by what they put in front of you in terms of marketing materials.
Yes.
Commercials, the way they, even in movies and things, the people who are playing in the lead roles, what do they look like? programming, programming, programming. And so, yes, that is why culture, American culture, is driving, people to change body parts and to do all these things, and you're doing all this stuff because somebody has told you what beautiful looks like, and that's your goal, is to attain that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
How
And
does that connect to, you said you wrote in a very tumultuous time for you,
mhm.
not even knowing the layers of the inner turmoil. So connect us from, because I love what you said. And so you had a garden of life that you had created. You were at the top of your game in many places, and then this thing comes. Whatever you want to define the thing as,
Mhm.
to try to disrupt your identity that you had cultivated.
Yeah.
So connect this American culture on that cultural perspective, the American culture, paint the garden, how beautiful it was, and what is the thing that disrupted that beautiful garden
Mm, my goodness. All
that
right.
ended up in a book.
Woo. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take y'all somewhere.
Now we ready.
So you talk about this garden of life, and I'm going to equate that and contrast that to the Garden of Eden.
Mhm.
Okay. And the garden of life, the garden, optimally, I want to create my Garden of Eden. Because in the Garden of Eden, I didn't want for anything.
Mhm.
Everything that I needed was there. I just needed to cultivate what was there, right? And in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were in the garden, they were surrounded by excessive lushness, anything they wanted.
Yeah.
They, because of the serpent putting something in their mind, they walked past all of um, they walked past everything that they had, and they focused on lack. They focused on the one thing that they were not to touch. They had to literally walk past everything that they could touch to the one thing they couldn't touch.
Mhm.
So Osley, that's what I did.
Mm.
I had career was just banging.
Mhm.
I could cars, anything,
Mm.
beautiful homes. I could build homes,
Mhm.
Mm.
anything. And instead of flourishing and uh, cultivating those things in a way perhaps to even help others, because I was doing well. So now I can cultivate that, make that grow so that I can even give back in great ways to people.
Mhm.
I chose to focus on the one thing I didn't have, which was I wanted to be married.
Which we're
Mm.
told in American culture
Correct.
is something for women to attain.
Correct. And that is, to your point, that is the programming, right? So I literally had to intentionally, even though it didn't feel like it was intentional, I walked past all of the goodness to the lack. And we are still, this country anyway is in this scarcity mentality, fear and scarcity, and oh, I'm not going to have enough, and whatever, all of that
Yeah.
stuff. And so, yeah, I'm programmed. I'm programmed not knowing that I was programmed because I wasn't aware of the foundation.
Messaging. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the
some of the
foundation.
messaging,
Yeah.
yeah, that's behind that we think are not a problem. They're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
just they're selling this thing because I have need of it. And it's not that they're selling it to train me to always have need of it. So, Miss Sounds, I'd like to
Mm,
hear your perspective on this or question either way
yeah.
on passing the goodness for the lack. What? I'm telling t-shirts coming.
Yes, yes. Man, so many questions come up for me. I think that I really am curious about um because I think with abundance, um, I love that you thought about how can I give from my abundance. I love that you thought about that. For
Yeah.
some people, abundance can be a place to hide, right? This
Mhm.
attaining all of these things can be a place to hide or not face myself. And I guess I really wanted to know um in this journey of what you think having what you think you really truly want or what the typical American dream is. Um, who were you truly? Because
Mhm.
um, we talk about the Garden of Eden, and we talk about all the things they had, or was provided for them. But we also see in the garden that they were naked and they were vulnerable, right? And they had a true essence to them in the midst of having it all. So I'm curious, who do you remember yourself being before you started to kind of be swept away by the programming, right?
Wow. So
For that one. Mm.
yeah, that's something. You know, I've been programmed, at least from my experience, from the womb. You come
Yeah.
out the womb and the programming begins.
Yeah.
And so, and to your point, Azalee, by people who are well intentioned, your parents love you. They want only the best for you. So
Yeah.
they don't think that what they're doing is wrong. They're almost part of this machine, unless they have this awareness that, we are in the world, we are not of the world. And that a belief system that connects us to our Creator, to God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, to Jesus, a relationship with Jesus, until that is established, firmly established, the only way possible, which is through His word that He left for us, we're kind of just navigating blindly.
Yeah.
We're making it up as we go. He showed us the way. He told us this is how you navigate this life. This is how you navigate here on the earth. And when that is skewed, and again, my early upbringing in Christianity was, and I don't want to bash any individual denomination, but it was not based on the word of God. It was based on a construct,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
denomination,
Mm-hmm.
which greatly deviated from what the word actually says and what it means. Like you were saying, Azalee, uh, active listening. Are you, even the Bible says, this is the word, you're reading the word, but how do you hear it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are these words? How are you hearing this? What's your filter? What is the lens that you're hearing it through? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
hardened heart? Is it a pliable heart? Like, how are you hearing this?
Yeah.
And so I was programmed so from the beginning. So what I can say to you is, before I was born again,
Mhm.
right? So when I was born, the programming began.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And until I was born again, I was empty.
Yeah.
I was empty. I didn't think that. I didn't even have the wherewithal to have these thoughts, Miss Sounds.
Yeah.
I'm not
Mm.
aware of it. I'm
Mm.
unaware. I'm in
Yeah.
the dark. I'm
Yeah.
empty. And then when I was born again, now I'm fine. I have purpose. And all of these things, amassing things and items and stuff like that, it's meaningless
Hmm.
outside of my purpose. Now, some of those things may serve my purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of my purpose, they're meaningless. And so now lots of things that I thought had great value and meaning, they fall away because they are not a part of driving me into my purpose.
Mm.
Yeah. And let me put a plug here. And I'm going to only do a light touch point because maybe Miss Sounds and I will tackle this in a candid conversation series that we're developing behind the scenes. I'm going to say that your purpose is not a to-do, a schedule, or a task list that you get to check off and go down the line. I'm being careful. Being careful, yeah. Being careful. But an example of having a purpose is that innate, natural thing that you must do, regardless if it is acknowledged, recognized, or accepted. I'm being careful.
Yeah.
I'm out here. I was swimming, now I'm diving. I'm gonna be careful. Y'all gotta save me if I go too far because I don't like the deep.
That's good. No, that's good.
Sometimes you have to go in the deep. So that's an example of purpose. It's not
Mm.
always a to-do. It becomes a part of you. It doesn't become a part of your to-do. Now you can have some to-dos that's connected to who you are. However, that's not the fullness of it. I'm going to give an example here. You can have some people whose purpose is just to love you the way you are, whether you are rugged or not. Why God has given them a capacity to love you beyond that is unexplainable to them, but it is there. Let
Yeah.
them try to turn it off. They can't.
Right.
Right? I mean, no
Mhm.
matter what you do, they have been given that. Their purpose is to show love in a capacity that is not very natural to us.
Wow.
That's a purpose. You don't got to understand it. They don't understand it, but it's what it is. That can be a purpose. So it doesn't mean they have to do things to love you or you have to do things for them to love you. See the difference? Their purpose is just to love. It's what they do. God trusts them with that. Okay. So that's where we're going to leave it. Because I just
Yes.
needed to give a little soft touch. Miss Sounds
Yeah.
got something to add there to that.
Yes. To that point, Azali, oh my gosh, if I could have like a snaps sound machine, I would do that. Because wow. Um when I hear that it is something that your purpose is something you must do regardless of if anyone sees it, cares about it, you know what I mean? It says good job to it. That is so anti the way American culture is, right? It's all about what can I show the world and what can put me on a platform to be applauded. And I know that some of the purest maybe indications or those little introductions you might have those introductions you might have start from childhood, like the earliest ones that you might kind of yeah, those earliest kind of inklings to what am I here for come out in as a child. I remember being a child and saying, someone asked me, what do I want to be when I grow up? And you know, as a child that you're speaking like truth when it just comes out. The first thing that came out was, and it had nothing to do with what I saw. It just was something I felt inside. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. Now, what area of teaching? That's not for me to determine, or
Right.
you know, the only thing I saw was a physical stand in front of the classroom kind of teacher. But in many ways in my life, teaching is a part of what I'm doing. But I remember being a child saying that and then being told, no, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Doctor, lawyer, which one? Which one you want to do? Right. And I remember going on a trajectory of fitting myself into those boxes of those two options and not feeling that this was true to who I was, but still exploring them because I felt like, man, there's no other way to, like, I was introduced early to money has to be at the forefront of why you have to choose what you want to do and how you want to make a mark in this world. Um, so I'm interested in if you had any inkling as a child in one of your purest stages of what you were supposed to be doing.
No. Simple answer,
Nothing.
it's no. When I look back now, I see threads of my purpose
Mm,
emerge as a child. I
mm,
saw it manifesting early in my childhood, but even at that point, I didn't recognize that this was had any meaning, you know. And the example is, for example, the last time I came on, I was speaking about my life work, right? So, and that I believe is my purpose. All the other things that I've done up to that point, including my career choice, my schooling, all of that um, ties into it, but not really. I literally did not have to go that way to do this life work that I work with, and that is my work in support and advocacy of the elderly.
mhm,
Yeah.
And when I was a little girl, I'll tell you a quick story. We would go to the amusement park with my grandmother's church. And uh, when it was a long bus ride, you know, and for kids, what's long? 5 minutes is long, but it seemed like an eternity to get there. And so when we got there, everybody was so excited and they get out and want to get on all the rides right away. And
mhm,
I remember that I wanted to sit at the picnic tables with my grandmother.
mhm.
And would say to me, "Why do you want to go play with the other kids? All the kids are running." And I was like, "No, Grandma, I want to sit here with you." Now, I don't know why. I love the roller coaster. I love that stuff. But
Mhm.
it's such a memory. It's such a beautiful memory that I have about that. And it was just that particular trip in, you know, that I can just see right now in my mind's eye. I can just see myself sitting there and we're just sitting there. And I don't even remember that there was much talking going on, but I was just sitting there in her presence. And she was probably like, this little kid is weird. But I really wasn't because I loved all those things. But I also recognized that when I was doing the kid things, playing and having a great fun, my grandmother wasn't around. And now it was now this was an opportunity. She was here. And it's almost as if I felt like I can do that anytime. Like I always have fun,
Mm,
but I'm not always sitting with my grandma. So
right.
again, this was not going through the little girl's mind. This 6, 7-year-old, I don't even remember. I was a little kid.
Yeah.
That wasn't going through my mind. But I tell you, the Lord brought me back to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But it
Yeah.
brings to light that there are things that we can do that we forget that comes back to serve us in later life.
Yeah.
When we are trying to pivot into who we want to be.
Exactly.
I'm trying to be careful with how I say that, right? So it almost has to be a warning to parents that still have children, but younger children, that while there's certain impacts that they forget, be it good or bad, and I'm speaking to myself right now, you don't know the residue that comes back to try to form or stifle the identity yet to be born.
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. And true, like I think a lot of this is processing in retrospect, right? So this idea of as a child, things coming out of you, things you remember saying, is often as adult being like, ah, when I was 6 or when I was 7, that this is something that I was interested in. And so like you're saying, Azali, I think it's important that parents actually take note of what their kids are saying, remind them when they get a little bit older. I remember when you were young, this is some of the things you used to do that you like to say. And also reminding them that whatever it is that they have said could be greater in or different than what they imagine, but the sky's the limit to what it can turn into. If God told you that, right, and you said it from the purest form of your heart, what he can do with those words, you won't even be able to think or imagine what they can become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also as
Yeah.
a parent, as you were talking, one thing that I can say that I want to put out as a challenge, or you heard
Yeah.
me, a challenge is this. When parents hear certain things from their youths, whatever age that is, or from your child, whether biological or not, if they're under the auspice of your home or under your wings in some capacity as a child or a childlike influence, when you hear certain things you either disagree with or are unsure of, you as the parenting figure need to tell yourself, remember this, don't let it pass you by. Because unfortunately, we dismiss sometimes without putting a reminder, so that later down, when something does show up, we now have the inability to do anything about it.
Yeah.
I have become very careful to not do that the way I used to, because coming from my West Indian culture, if it don't connect, we don't dismiss.
Yeah.
We're
Throw that
done.
in the trash, baby. We ain't
Yeah, we're
doing that.
gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, whatever. Yeah, that was a mistake, and we're not even going to think about it. But now I am more careful to say, God, let me remind me of that when it's supposed to be used. Or God, don't let me miss that, because that was said by my child, but in the moment, I didn't dedicate enough time to it. But don't let me miss what you wanted me to hear, because I'm thinking about it a bit now. The moment has passed, but now it's coming back to me a little bit. Don't let me miss it. And the it for me is, what did you need me to hear that the child said? Because maybe I have some work to do. It's not always the child said something that the child need to work on. The child might say something that I need to work on. So I think that we also have to do that, in the Bible where it says, physician, heal thyself. I have been living that scripture truly for the last 5 years. And for me, it means several things, but one thing is for me to do the work of the inner thought work. If something comes back in my mind, I need to take time to investigate, what is this? How significant is it? What part of my life has this impacted or is to impact it? If it didn't hit yet, but it's showing up in my thoughts, where do you belong? Thought. Mr. Thought, Miss Thought, why are you coming up here? Where do you belong? And so that's what the challenge is that before we dismiss, let's just ask to whatever God you believe in. I believe in one, or whatever God you believe in. Just say, hey, what am I missing here? Don't let me miss this. Whatever I'm supposed to really glean from this moment, from this thought that has come back to show itself. What am I supposed to get here? Okay. So I just heard that as we were talking, for me just to put that challenge out there, and that's something I've been doing for a while. It has served me well. It has served me well to ask myself. Miss Sounds, what is the other question for Miss Donna? Because her book was about turmoil, but she's not in that turmoil anymore. So what is the other side? Something has happened to turn that turmoil into triumph.
There was a transition for you from surviving to thriving, right? Even with abundance or things that we see or define as abundance, there's still some survival to keep that thing, right? Like I'm trying to keep this, so I'm in survival mode. But when you move to a place of thriving, I've accepted who I am. I know more about myself. Can you tell us about that transition as you were writing this book, reflecting on your experiences? What transformational things were happening in you, from survival mode to now I'm thriving. I know who God says I am, things like that.
Yeah. So the writing of the book was the catharsis and the healing that he needed to happen in me and through me to get to the other side. So I was fighting it. And what I know now on the other side of it was I was fighting against my own healing, because that's where the healing took place. I didn't want to, I told Azalee, I did not want to write this book because to me, it was going to expose, that everybody was like, man, I thought she was an intelligent woman, she was doing this, and I was like, oh man. So again, image, right? It was all about, oh, I know I can't have anybody think these things about me, and I need them to think this and that or whatever. And so it was just tearing all of these walls down that I had built up because I didn't know who I was. And so at the very beginning of the memoir, it was over several years. The very beginning, it starts with me realizing that I never knew who God was. What I was told about this God was not who he is. And I had to be broken down to a point where I was willing, I was open, I was so vulnerable. I was just like, I have done this and I've just failed. I failed in so many ways. And you know what's so interesting about that is people looking at my life would be like, failed, that's not a word that I would use.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I might be one of those people. I'm just gonna put my hand up.
But
awesome.
Because, but this goes back to purpose, right? Is that I can have all these things. And guess what, guys? I still had all those things. I still had a great career. Like I still had this fabulous house. But at what cost? So now there was no purpose in it though. So now as he's healing me through the writing of the book.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me just back up 1 second. I realized that I was in actual disobedience. And the reason I found that out was, remember, I did not know God. I did not know Christ. I did not know Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I had this representation of him that really wasn't him at all. And so now he's healing me through the writing of the book. And now I'm learning this God. I'm learning this lover of my soul. He's telling me who I am. He's showing me everything about me that I was getting from the world. The world tells me this is who I am. That's not who I am. This is who I am. So there was just so much. And I realized, and when I was saying, no, Lord, I don't want to write this book. No, don't anything else, not that. And at some point I realized, I was like, oh, I'm actually saying no to the Lord. Like, really? What are we doing? I'm just telling you, I did not even realize it. And guys, that was for 3 years. For 3 years I ran. I was like, no, 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 no. And at some point it clicked. You are completely being disobedient. And I was like, oh, and in that, I'm telling you, in that moment, I said, I just wept because I was like, I have to do this. It's no longer, do you want to? It's a good idea. I have to do this. And the healing, I'm telling you, the healing was daily. It was just constant. I wrote for 1 full year, just writing. No structure or anything, just writing. The Lord brought back to my remembrance these very poignant times throughout my life where he showed up, and he showed up strong for me. I wasn't serving him. I wasn't honoring him. I wasn't acknowledging him. I didn't even know who he was. But there were different times when he would show up. I would call out to him. So the version of him that I was calling out to was a version that I had created of him in my own mind, not who he is in all of his splendor and majesty, but who I created him to be. An idol. I created. This is God to me. This is my God, not the only true living God. So it was powerful. It was a powerful experience. And, it's for that new believer. I believe that's many people will benefit from reading the book. Many have benefited. I wrote the book over 10 years ago, and it's biblically based. It's a book about spiritual growth. How it looks when it's just happening. Not, we often see that person who comes out and now they're the bishop. they're already over here, but what does it look like when you're fighting to take your next breath?
Yeah.
Because you're so depleted, and even your breath is it's labored because you're so brokenhearted because you broke your own heart.
Yeah.
You disappointed your own self. That's it. It's a tough place. It's a tough place to be in. And he comes and he loves you. He loves you through it. He loves you so much. He's not going to let you stay there. And he's going to come and he's going to show you this beautiful diamond that you are. And what he has in store for you. And no, he's not going to show it all to you at once.
No.
He's going to just, daughter, take my hand. Take my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a passage through the pain.
Yeah.
That happens. There is a passage. And a passage is transference from one place along a pathway to another place that should not be the same as where you're coming from.
Mm.
Passage through the pain, which also says that those of us who recognize transformation came through some type of pain by creating a passage that says, where I am, I can't be anymore. Some of us will crawl. Some of us will walk. Some of us will jog. And some of us will run for sure. And so what we want you to take away from this candid conversation is that there is always the option of another side, but it requires you to participate.
Yeah.
Any rescue, any type of rescue, whether you believe in God or not, any type of rescue requires your participation. That's what we want you to get. And that's why we open by saying, we will not design by desperation. No. Because when I become desperate, I would often think I only have one option. That's why we said that. We're not going to say you don't have desperate moments. That's why I said active listening, people. But we have heard the story of people who were born in poverty that created more than one option. And little by little, they crawled out of that. You think it was one option that got them out? Come on now. Told y'all we're smart out here. So that's why we were bringing this conversation from Ms. Donna, so that you understand someone who has had what we, as Ms. Sound said, we would esteem that to be, she has arrived. Cinderella is in the building. For those of you who need the fairy tale, she was Cinderella. She had it all. Castle, king, carriage, prestige, and the ball was prepared. But after midnight, after midnight, all of that thing turned into, what do we have here? It was not the happy ever after. So we're asking you to be careful with your decisions from past to present to future. Participate. Do it with wisdom. Do it with growth. But most of all, do it with caution. That's what we're saying. So I always like to wrap it up in a bow that you understand logistically. What are we saying? What are we hoping that you would walk away with? We're going to have Miss Sounds give her final thought on what we talked about. Then we're going to do our rise and fall. And we're going to end a little different today. After the rise and fall, we are going to bid you farewell until the next time. But we wanted to have a candid sit down. I think we have accomplished that. I hope that you can respect where we went on this journey. We feel it was necessary. And we are satisfied with where we ended up. Sounds?
You know, there is, what I'm hearing is that there's so much power and courage in taking steps or living counterculture. Like it's courageous because it's the path that not many people want to take. It can feel lonely to walk the path. But I just want to thank you, Donna, because I think you've given a lot of people permission to listen to the small, still voice that is calling them out of what is popular. and a path that is wide, and it is allowing people to take narrow paths, the narrow path that leads to true life, and leads to that connection to who they truly are, and not a false reality, because that's the most popular thing to choose. It is the most celebrated. But when you choose the narrow path, you and God is the only two celebrated sometimes. And the other people that chose the narrow path, the ones behind or in front of you, are celebrating you too. And so, Donna, I think, thank you, because I just, whether I'm standing behind you on the narrow, we on the narrow path, okay? and we celebrate ourselves.
Yes,
So thank
boundaries.
you. Right. That's where the
We're not
narrow
gonna
comes
be
from, the
yeah,
boundaries.
we ain't gonna be all out here just fooling around. What? Oh, okay, we did that
No.
before. Next.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's this message that it's time to be true to who you are and who you've always been. And it's time to go on that journey to find and rediscover that person. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, we're gonna wrap up with our rise and fall. And we've done this before, but I'll explain it once again. And it's our ending reflections on this conversation. The rise part is, after you heard what you heard today, what are you going to continue to let rise in your life? What are you going to continue to engage with and remind yourself to live out? And then there's the fall, which is, after this conversation, what will I continue to work on burying and just never letting it see the light of day anymore, because it's not true to who I am, you know? So for me, I'm gonna start because so good. All of this was so good. But Azali, you hit me with the purpose quote. Oh my gosh, you hit me with the purpose quote. Um, the thing that you must do because it's calling out to you, and it has nothing to do with any worldly success. It's just who you know you were made to be. I want to continue to let that rise because, man, again, like I said, we live in a world that is very much hijacking what's your purpose, but it's masked under performance to be applauded kind of thing, right? And it's not connecting back to the essence of who I truly am. And so I'm gonna let rise, keep reminding yourself of what purpose means, and listen daily to how you can live that out authentically. And then what I will let fall, I think that I don't, so I from what I hear today, there's nothing wrong with having things, right? Um, it is intent and what you believe those things create in you and for you. Like it's, if you believe that this is your worth, then you probably shouldn't have those things. You probably got to do that work to really find out who you truly are. But some of these things can be a vehicle to forward or propel forward what you're called to do in this life. And if you can utilize them in that way, they're healthy. And so we saying fall to unhealthy associations with things.
Down with you. Down.
Yeah.
with you.
They're vehicles, you know what I mean? They're not the essence of everything. So yeah, that's me.
Miss Donna, we're gonna let you go next so I can riff on the people on my side.
Okay. Man, so after this conversation, I will let rise, God guiding me, and me not trying to take control or take the reins back.
Mm.
Just to continue to trust him.
Yeah.
To know that my name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life.
Yeah.
that I am his. He wants only the best for me, and that I'm to use wisdom and consult with him always on the front end, not on the back end, on the front end always. So I'm going to continue to let that rise and continue to be guided by those actions and principles, and to let fall. I'm going to let fall doubts that creep in. You know, they don't have to be the paralyzing doubts. See, because a lot of people talk about that, and they end up not doing anything, and that's not good. But sometimes it's not those paralyzing doubts, it's just little doubts, just little ones that maybe cause you to procrastinate a little bit because you have this a little doubt. So I'm going to let those little doubts that kind of creep in, I'm going to try to really, really lean in to see what the root of those doubts are, to work on uprooting those, and to be done with those doubts, and to be, in the words of Miss Sounds, to be fully courageous, wholly courageous, not just a little courageous. Yeah.
Gonna run around the room. I will not run around the room. I got to speak to myself sometimes. Okay, y'all don't got to speak to yourself. I'm not going to run around the room. Those of you who are believers understand why that can be possible. Okay, so I would say for me, I'm going to preface it first. I was the invisible child who didn't think I had anything to say, and therefore refused to speak and decided to listen. So what I will let rise are these continued conversations that now prove that the listener can be the speaker with relevant conversations.
Come on.
Hope I say I'm trying to capture it. That's why I will not run around the room.
You can't.
Y'all have no idea. I'm a kid in a candy store. I'm chilling. I ain't gonna do it. And what I'm gonna let fall is the belief that desperation only comes with a negative impact when it does have a duality to have a positive impact that allows me to create a passage through the pain that gets me to the purpose.
Yeah.
Desperation has a duality. You get to choose. We never talk about that there is a choice. We can have desperation that flatlines us. We are a dead, walking dead. But we can have desperation that propels us, that says, I will live because I need to live. So I'm going to let fall one dimension. I will not just only look at the negativity that desperation says or implies.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that fall. I'm going to always look for the duality. So future risers, I know we came hard. I know we had a jackhammer, a bat, all kind of stuff thrown at you today. But we do it because we know these conversations are important. We hope that you agree. But whether you do or not, we will continue to have these conversations as we continue to encounter, connect with others that say, I'm ready to talk. It's as simple as that. They said they're ready. And so we're going to create a way for them to speak where they feel safe, where they feel heard, but for them to speak nonetheless. So that's where we are. You know what our expectations are of you. You know that we love you. You know that we wish the best for you. And you know that we continue to encourage you to do the work before you come to these conversations. Because if you do that, there's a little opening where the relevancy for your life gets connected. That's why we say do the work and then
Yeah.
come on over here. We love you. Big hugs. It's Friday. We're on a weekend. So I'm telling you guys, have fun, but do it with wisdom so that when you look in the mirror, hey, you love him or her that's looking back to you. Listen, have a great weekend. See you guys on the next conversation. Ms. Donna is no longer a returning guest. She's not an RG. She's returning family. That makes her an RF in the house. Get the book.
Yes.
Not 1 second,
1 second
late.
late. Ooh, yes.
Donna Jackson is the author. Get it, J. Don't forget Donna J. Jackson.
Right.
Get it now because she has something to say and we want you to hear it and we want you to read it. Have a great day, Futurizers. We love you. Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.